Hi, Friendly. It is Neo here. I've watched all of your VOD, and we're going to talk about a few things before we get into that. So, first off, welcome to the game. I think you're doing a lot of good things already, and I'll point out some moments that I was actually very, very happy with. I'll tell you now, I'm very happy that you're not just, like, on the objective the whole time, especially on payload. That's a big mistake that a lot of people end up making. And I do think there are a few things that we'll talk about that we can do better. There's I think that tank is one of the more important it's more important that you have a better understanding of the game with tank in particular than it is some of the other roles. And as your macro understanding of the game increases, then you can start translating that to other roles. So I'm very happy that you're playing tank. And that just means that we're also going to be talking about some like bigger Overwatch pictures than we would if we were, say, like playing support. One thing I really want us to try and make sure we're always within 5 meters of whatever enemy we're shooting. Like, this is a lot of damage. We're 10 meters away. See, 0, 5, 10. But, that's how much damage we do at 10 meters away. This is how much damage we do from 5. So, you see that's not that less. I actually missed a bunch of shots, so let's redo that without me preemptively hitting left click. So this is the damage from 10. This is the damage from 5. That's much better. So you can see the damage, how much it increases because of how much more effective our pellets are, because we do have a shotgun from 5 meters versus 10 meters. So the more we're within this range, the better. And that also means if we're within this range, we can also hit our axe. And that does a ton of damage. So I'll show you axe at just this range on just one bot who was full health. So this guy was full health, and now he's that much health left. So it's very, very nice. Our axe is one of our stronger cooldowns. And then the last thing I want to talk about before we watch the VOD is what I call the Junkerqueen kind of like hook combo. So if we land our knife in somebody like this and we pull it back, they come to us.
Down goes another pretender.
So with that, we can kind of chain our abilities. So that means if we knife, pull it back, axe, headshot, and then if they're lower health, we can melee them. If they're tank, we can headshot twice. We do a ton of damage, and there's not much they can do about it. So on like a 200 health target, we can just completely kill them if we land this knife in them. If you don't land the knife in them, obviously we can't do it. We still get the residual because when we pulled it back, we hit him. But yes, that is it. And then a final thing is I like pulling our knife back a lot and quickly, because even though the cooldown is about the same as if we leave it out, like here, versus if we... It's about the same, but there is a very minute difference in if we melee with our knife in our hand, we get healing, because we inflict wounds on them, versus if we melee without the knife in them, we don't get wounds. So that's why I kind of like to make sure we have it back, because on the off chance we need to melee with our knife, we have that ability. Of course, if we were like over here and we threw the knife, it does come back to us through us. So now because I've waited, I hit both of them with this and I get more healing. But yeah, it's just like little things like that, and knowing that you get this, you get healing from that. And there's also one other thing. So your axe has a weird cooldown reduction feature. So if we axe and we hit no one, we have to wait this 9 seconds. If we axe, and for each person we hit, that cooldown goes by 2 seconds, goes down. So if we hit both of these guys here, we only have to wait 4 seconds before we get axe again, which means we can just kill them. If you hit, I think 4 people it is at the same time, yeah, because it's 8 seconds, you just get it back immediately. So our axe is very, very strong in terms of damage, and our kit should be kind of focused around, and our usage should be used around how can I get this axe damage into people. So if that means I have to like pull them in and do this kind of thing and to kill them, then so be it. If we're going to shout, it should be like shout, shoot, axe kind of thing. The longest thing we have to worry about is trying to get used to how long that pull is. If we think somebody's going to be like right around this corner, we can try and like you see him coming up here, we can try and land it early like that. So I really want us to use our axe very, very often, because it's like guaranteed damage. And then we're going to think about how to use our other abilities around. How can we get in that axe range and then axe somebody? So let's watch the actual VOD. So that's not it. One thing I like to say is, especially when people are starting out, I think you should just try and one-trick a hero. Because the more mastery you get of, say, this hero, the easier it's going to be to understand how to play other heroes. So if you have a good understanding of, like, in this team in particular, how do we play Junkerqueen against Orisa? Then it's kind of like, well, okay, I understand how to play Junkerqueen against Orisa. Well, what if I try and reverse that? How do you play Orisa versus Junkerqueen? And the more you see those interactions and you understand those interactions of like, oh, when I see Fortify, this is a less effective. When I see this, this is less effective. When she does this, this sucks for me. And then you're like, oh, well, I could play Orisa against Junkerqueen because I know how to play Junkerqueen against Orisa. I know what she does to counter me. I know how to counter her, kind of thing. And then that's how you kind of will expand your hero pool, is understanding how other heroes interact against you and how you interact against them, and then you can try and like extrapolate that to other heroes. It's just, if you understand like even further on your team, like this is how I would translate it to support and how I actually have in my own gameplay. It's like, if you understand how to play a Junkerqueen and you're on support, then you're like, oh, well, I know what my Junkerqueen is going to do, and I have an idea of how to help her because I know what she wants to do. And then we can kind of go further from that. I love, like I said earlier, that you're playing tank, because we need to have a stronger macro understanding of the game because of that, and you do several good things because of this. We see that they're holding really close here. We have visual on the Baptiste on the enemy team. So I really want us to honestly try and get the Baptiste here. Killing support's the biggest thing. I think we even saw that they have a Bastion already, which is going to be scary. Can we actually see it? Yes, we can. Very faintly, we can see that they have a Bastion. Which means that if we just wait for a second, they might just blow all their cooldowns into the spawn door immediately, and we can't get damaged by that. But we could also try and shout engage and just go fast. And one last thing I'm going to talk about before we actually watch this is us against Orisa. So Orisa is one of the few tanks that actually thrives in the mid-range. A lot of tanks are very melee focused and melee heavy and have abilities that focus in the melee range. But Orisa and Sigma are kind of outliers where they benefit being in the mid-range. Originally, Orisa could even do long range, but now she has some fall off, if I recall correctly. So she's a little bit better in mid-range, and she's still good in close range, don't get me wrong. But we are stronger in close range than Orisa is. So we want to try and make sure we're not in her better range or mid-range. We want to make sure we're staying as much as possible in melee range.
4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
Righty, come.
So Bastion on Wheels is very scary. If all possible, we want to try and make sure we can utilize some natural cover against him, so that way it doesn't force our cooldowns. So the second we hear him get on wheels, we can try and play over this way. And then he can't shoot us anymore, and he's wasted this cooldown, and then we can try and gauge into him after he's already done that. So the more you see Bastion look like this, and he's in this turret form, he's going to be very strong, but it only lasts a certain amount of time. So we can just try and wait. Yeah, even here, I would just pull the knife back immediately, because if you look, when you pull it, it might hit this Mercy if we pull it back immediately. And then that'll get us some healing as well. Decent try.
There'll be consequences for that.
So I really want us, yeah, if we can, trying to hook this Baptiste. Because he's really just... He's not moving very much, and it wouldn't be too hard for us to hook him and pull him into us, and then he'd be kind of screwed. I don't mind trying to get the Hanzo here, but honestly, don't be afraid to just fully commit into somebody in this kind of scenario, so we can just shout, use our speed advantage that we get from this to fully push into him, and then go and axe him. Yes, good. This is okay. Kind of walked past the Orisa, but that's fine. Yep. Even here, don't be afraid to shoot right before you axe, because that'll make sure we up our damage. So I know we're thinking about it, but if we shoot before we axe, we'll do even more. And then I really want our cooldowns to be on cooldown as much as possible, specifically specifically our knife, less so our shout and axe. It's still nice to have our axe on cooldown, but if you're not within melee, it doesn't matter. And our shout has such a long cooldown, it's more important for it to get value, but I really want our knife to be on cooldown as much as possible. And still the axe as much as possible. That doesn't mean use it willy-nilly. That means if you hit somebody, that's good. Or if you can't hit somebody, use it. But yeah, knife, knife, knife. Nice. That's honestly a decent trade. I don't think our team's gonna be able to capitalize on that though.
I'm getting back in.
From this, you can just shout immediately because there's some benefits to if you're coming back to a fight using your cooldown immediately, because then it'll be on cooldown so we can get it back even faster when we need it in the actual fight. I think this fight's already lost though. I don't know, this is still salvageable. No, it's kind of lost with that res. I like that we hooked him here, but we can just try and pull him. Yeah. So when Orisa is golden like this, she has a very, very strong damage reduction. So all of this damage we're doing is very, very little. So that means that we can maybe try and hold our axe. She doesn't take headshot damage in this form, which is very annoying. So it means we're going to be doing even less. So it's just very hard to engage her. And also our knife wouldn't work in this. Yeah. I don't mind this. The reality is they just got back sooner than our team did. We really need our team to engage with us in these fights. And we would have been about like 3 people versus like 4 or 5 people. So it would have been pretty rough engagement even if our team was with us in this. Grouping up and engaging as a team is a very, very big deal. And it makes your shout even stronger because it gives your teammates extra health. But there's some... I will say that like sometimes your teammates should be playing like that could have maybe been okay if your teammates got more picks in the downtime before they died. But grouping up here is very important. The more you can convince your team to group up, the better off you'll be. Yeah, so I want us to try an axe here or knife here. Nice, pull him back. And then he's in that wheel, that form, his turret form, so he's very, very strong. I would just try and hug this right wall as much as possible, even more when you see him do that, and just wait the entire cooldown out. Anytime your teammate gets a pick and the enemy has a mercy, it's highly possible they're going to res that, and at this elo, and for a while, they are going to just try and res every single thing they can. So when you see that they get this pick, I wouldn't even be afraid to try and shout, engage, and just see if we can stop this Mercy from resing or punish her for doing that. And this will be true throughout the rest of the game too. Killing Mercy is very, very valuable. Killing her before she reses is even more so. So I want us pushing up with the shout. Very nice. I want us to use our knife on the Hanzo. Just sooner. Because the more you use it, the more you'll get it back. I like that we get this health back. But I want us to knife. Nice. This is fine as soon as... I would say as soon as I see her out of this golden form, I want us to shout an axe, but I don't mind shouting here because of the ults. The extra health for your team is very good. Nice. See, that's the one scenario I was talking about where it would be nice for us to have the knife in your hand, because that'll do extra damage to the enemy as well, inflicting that bleed. I think nothing happens here, and then yeah. So I wouldn't be afraid to shout engage this, so, like fully commit. Fully commit to going in here. I would shout and just as you're going through this doorway, hit your axe ability, because then we could probably axe both of these guys immediately. Don't be afraid to use your health and your shout as an advantage, because we get even more health. They will have what he has some extra health, but like a total their total health will still be less than your total health. So it's kind of, don't be afraid to fully commit here. Your support should be with you, in all honesty. They might not be, but getting that extra axe, especially if you can hit both of them, will be very, very strong. And you'll get healing from that. Pull him back, axe. Axe him here. Nice, very good. She was thinking about the res, by the way, so it's decent. They still would have probably lost, but it's fine. I don't mind that ult. It's you can so in the macro understanding of the game, you can argue that that ult probably might not have been necessary, because you guys have 5 people and they, if they got the res off, would have 3. In all honesty, they only had 2. So you can make an argument that that ult wasn't necessary because your team could probably just kill them. But I don't mind not risking it. Like, just fully commit to these staggers. We will get our ult back very quickly if we're doing the right things. And in this next fight, I think we do a lot of the right things. Our team just doesn't stay with us. So I don't really have too much of a problem with that if we're going to secure these things. And getting that res could have been scary. So I like that we're doing this. I love that we're not sticking to cart. This is exactly where we should be. That's good. We can just melee him. Honestly, I would have axed him. We don't have, but I didn't know he was that low, so you could just eat through this doorway. Nice. And I love that you redirected this axe in the cooldown. So you started the animation, you turned over, and you hit these guys. That's very good. And you can, and I'm very impressed by this in all honesty. So this turret takes a second to build. So when you see him throw it out initially, we can try, especially after kill him, we can redirect this a little bit sooner. And it'll help us health. Yeah, we don't get any health from the turret. So this is where I'm like, it is so good that we were up there. But you notice something? We're not getting healed. This sucks. Because you were in the right place. You're doing the right thing. But you know what? They're on cart. One of them, if not both of them, should be with you. We don't need 3 people on cart. We need 1 person on cart. So it's unfortunate because you're doing the right stuff here. You should have fully gotten healed here. We could have maybe known that they were on cart. So maybe when we went over here, we could try and drop down this way and then go over here. And then maybe our team would heal us if we were aware of where cart was and where our teammates were. But honestly, one of our teammates should have been with us, especially one of our supports. And it sucks that you were punished because you were in the right spot. So that's gonna happen sometimes. Your team's gonna, especially at lower elos, they're not gonna realize that pushing up and taking high ground is where you're supposed to be, and you guys only need 1 person on cart. Another one situation, just make sure as soon as you respawn, if you're gonna have to go a far distance, and that's only if you have to go a far distance, just shout out to spawn. If you have to go a shorter distance, then don't do it. So I'm gonna paint an example of that. I know it's kind of meticulous, but there is like a very specific difference. So let's say a fight was happening right here. We're not going to get shout back in time, so it's fine. So if the fight's going on over here, we're not going to get shout back in time, so we can shout out of spawn. If the fight's happening up here or down here-ish, then we can shout for sure. Even here, if the fight is happening right here, I wouldn't shout out of spawn because our spawn is over this way now. And especially when you're like first leaving. So let's say when we were back at the very, very beginning attacking spawn, I might even hold it there, especially if the enemy team is holding close, because we won't get it back by the time this fight happens. So it's just little things like that. It's a very, very long cooldown, so you get a sense of it. But let's say that I'm going to make a slight rule. If the fight is happening, like if the first choke out of your spawn, don't shout. Just hold it. But if it's further than the first choke, then you can shout for sure. And you'll notice as you play the maps more when it's like, oh, this fight happens. There's a lot of the times we take a fight right here. Okay, that must be the first choke. Oh, the fight happens all the way. This is past that first fight. It's now in a second fight. Oh, that is okay. So it'll come as you have greater map knowledge, and you'll notice things like remembering where health packs are and names of maps and stuff like that. But yeah, you'll get there. So here, if you pull the knife back immediately, you'll probably hit this junk, and then you wouldn't even you would have gotten that healing. Not that you needed it right here, but that'll help build your ult as well. I want us pushing up here if we can, but I don't mind that we're the only one on cart now. So I want us to axe him. As soon as if somebody picks a fight with you in close range, punish them, axe them. So we axe him here. He'll force out his cooldowns. And then we don't have to worry about aiming because it's such a wide melee. If somebody's right in front of you on your screen, they're probably going to get hit with the axe. And I want us knifing, so look for a knife here. Good. Pull it back. If we pull it back immediately, I think we hit 2 people. Like right here, if we pull it back, we hit 2. And then look, this Mercy, she wants to res. She's looking for it, and then she flies over you right here. Punish her for this. Turn around, axe her. Make sure she doesn't get this kill. This res. I want this knife cooldown. Knife on cooldown. So we can knife like here-ish. We don't even have to necessarily aim it. It's a little bit better if you can and make sure it's on the map. But as long as we hit somebody, we'll start getting that health back. And if we pull it back, we're probably going to hit 2 or 3 people. That'll start building our health as well. And then we can push in and axe them as we have that bleed going. Again, knife on cooldown, knife on cooldown. I would even look to axe here. Because we're playing a little bit, we're closer to that 10-meter range. This is probably like 6 or 7. So we push into this Baptiste, punish him for being there, axe him. I think our team just wins the game here. Yeah. So, like I said, I really love that we're not hooked to the payload the whole time. That's just something that a lot of people tend to do. You don't. It's just one person is fine. I love that you took the high ground on second. You're doing, like, I just want us to use our cooldowns a little bit more because that will compensate. That'll just output even more damage. So constantly knife, because pulling somebody back is massive. Pulling somebody to you, especially not the tank, will do a lot of damage to the enemies. And yeah, I think that's it. I'm very impressed considering how long you've been playing the game, that you are kind of playing this well. I really think you should continue to. I'm a big fan of one-tricking. I used to be a Moira one-trick. Now my hero pool is my hero pool is everywhere. Like, these are literally every support except Lifeweaver, and then there are the tanks, and further on, I mean, if you look at all modes, it's like everywhere. And I used to be more one-trick, so I'm still a big fan of, like, just play a bunch of people, like just one trick, so then you get a good sense, and then you can start playing other heroes, because once your macro understanding of the game is more solidified of this is how I play the game on this hero, then you can start translating into other heroes. It's less fun sometimes one tricking, because you're like just doing the same thing over and over again, but you can get some variety in the maps and what the enemy compositions are, and then even what your compositions are. Like, you're going to be playing Junkerqueen differently if your team has like a Widow and a Widow than you would be playing Junkerqueen if your team has a Reaper. Like, it just ends up being different. So when you notice the differences in that, like, you'll play differently if you have a Lucio than if you have, let's say, a Zen. That's where the variety really comes in one tricking. And I hope that was helpful. Please feel free to send me another one, because I'm really interested to see how you grow and if this has helped you, and let me know if you have any questions. Bye.